Imagine stepping outside tonight and the air is so cold that every breath burns your lungs. Within minutes, your fingers stop working, your feet go numb, and your body begins shutting itself down. Now, imagine there are no heated homes, no jackets, no grocery stores, no electricity, and no rescue coming. Just endless snow, violent winds, and predators that are just as hungry as you are. This wasn't one terrible winter. For thousands of years, this was everyday life. This was the Ice Age, and somehow, humans didn't just survive it, they spread across it, but they didn't do it because they were the strongest animals. They did it because they became something even more dangerous, the smartest survivors Earth had ever seen. Around 20,000 years ago, during the coldest part of the last ice age, much of the northern hemisphere looked completely different. Massive glaciers covered huge parts of North America, northern Europe, and Asia. Some ice sheets were over 2 miles thick. Sea levels were hundreds of feet lower than today because so much water was trapped as ice, and entire coastlines didn't even exist yet. Places that are now forests were frozen grasslands, while temperatures in many regions stayed far below freezing for months. For early humans, this wasn't just uncomfortable, it was deadly. Unlike mammoths, woolly rhinos, or musk oxen, humans had almost no natural defenses against the cold. We had no thick fur, no protective fat, no claws, and no sharp teeth. Nature hadn't designed us for this world, yet somehow we refused to leave it. Today, fire is something we use for camping. For our ancestors, it was the difference between life and death. A fire wasn't simply warmth. It dried wet clothing, melted snow into drinking water, cooked frozen meat, scared away wolves and cave lions, and allowed people to sleep through freezing nights. Without it, a single snowstorm could wipe out an entire family. Keeping a fire alive became a daily responsibility. Someone always had to protect the embers. If the flames died, starting another fire during freezing weather wasn't guaranteed. A tiny spark often meant another day of survival. Human skin wasn't enough, so humans borrowed someone else's. Every coat, every pair of boots, and every blanket once belonged to another animal: reindeer, bison, wolf, fox, or bear. But wearing fur wasn't as simple as throwing it over your shoulders. Fresh hides quickly became stiff, rotted, smelled, and froze solid. People had to scrape away fat, stretch the skin, dry it, and soften it using stone tools and animal brains. It was slow, dirty, and exhausting work. Then came one of humanity's smallest inventions with one of its biggest impacts: the bone needle. For the first time, people could stitch clothing that actually fit the body. Tight sleeves, layered boots, and fur-lined hoods trapped heat instead of letting cold air inside. That simple tool may have opened entire frozen regions that humans previously couldn't survive. Finding food during the Ice Age wasn't like hunting in movies. There wasn't a guaranteed meal waiting over the next hill. A hunting expedition could last days, sometimes even weeks. People tracked enormous animals across frozen landscapes: mammoths, bison, wild horses, and reindeer. Sometimes they chased exhausted animals until they collapsed. Other times, they drove entire herds toward cliffs or natural traps. Even after a successful hunt, the work had barely begun. A mammoth could provide thousands of pounds of meat, but if it froze the wrong way or scavengers arrived first, much of that food could be lost. Every successful hunt became a race against time. Nothing went to waste. Meat became food, bones became tools, sinew became thread, fat became fuel, hides became clothing, and even tusks became building material. Every animal represented hundreds of hours of future survival. Not every Ice Age landscape had forests, and caves weren't always nearby. So humans used whatever the environment offered. Sometimes that meant building houses from mammoth bones. Archaeologists have uncovered entire circular structures made from skulls, jawbones, ribs, and massive tusks. The bones formed the frame while animal hides stretched across the outside. Earth and snow helped seal the walls. Inside, fires burned continuously, trapping precious heat against relentless winds. Imagine falling asleep surrounded by the skeleton of an animal that outweighed your entire community. To us, it seems eerie. To them, it was home. People often imagine wolves, bears, or saber-toothed cats as the greatest dangers. But the real killer was the cold itself. Frostbite could permanently destroy fingers. Hypothermia slowly confused the mind before shutting down the body. Snowstorms erased footprints. making it impossible to find your way home. Food shortages became even worse during long winters, and children and older adults faced the greatest risks. One injury could become fatal. One failed hunt could mean starvation. One broken tool, one mistake could change everything. Survival depended on making as few mistakes as possible. Humans ever slow their bodies to survive? One of the most fascinating debates in anthropology involves an unexpected question. Could ancient humans have entered a state somewhat similar to hibernation? Some researchers studying prehistoric remains have suggested that periods of severe nutritional stress may have pushed the body into dramatically reduced activity during the harshest winters. Others strongly disagree, arguing there isn't enough evidence. Most scientists do not believe humans truly hibernated like bears, but the debate itself highlights something remarkable. Ice Age winters were so extreme that researchers continue searching for explanations that once sounded impossible. Whether humans slowed their metabolism significantly or simply endured long periods of inactivity, winter demanded incredible endurance. Around this same period, our closest relatives were disappearing, the Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they had lived across Europe and Western Asia. They were powerfully built, excellent hunters, and well adapted to cold climates, yet eventually they vanished. Scientists still debate exactly why. Climate change, shrinking populations, competition for resources, interbreeding with modern humans, disease, or perhaps several factors combined. There may never be one simple answer, but one fact remains. Today, only one human species survives, and our survival was never guaranteed. Humans possessed one advantage unlike any other Ice Age predator: each other. Groups shared knowledge. A successful hunting technique discovered by one community could spread across hundreds of miles. Stone materials traveled enormous distances. Shells from distant coastlines appeared deep inland. Ideas moved. People moved. Trade moved. When one group struggled, others sometimes shared resources or information. This network of cooperation became something stronger than any claw or fang. No single person could master every challenge, but together, communities accumulated knowledge across generations. That may have been humanity's greatest adaptation, not stronger muscles or thicker skin, but shared intelligence. It's easy to think of Ice Age humans as primitive, but surviving that world required astonishing creativity. Every tool solved a deadly problem. Every shelter represented engineering. Every successful hunt demanded planning, communication, and courage. The Ice Age didn't simply test humanity, it helped shape it. Tonight, you'll probably adjust your thermostat, pull a blanket over yourself, or complain that it's colder than usual. But remember, your ancestors faced winters where a single mistake could end an entire family's future. They hunted giants, built homes from bones, protected tiny fires with their lives, and crossed frozen worlds that seemed impossible to survive. The greatest miracle of the Ice Age isn't that humans endured the cold. It's that they transformed impossible conditions into opportunities to adapt. Every warm home, every winter coat, and every modern convenience exists because thousands of generations refused to give up when nature seemed determined to erase them. The Ice Age eventually ended, but the resilience it forged still lives inside every one of us.